Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're coming here from part 1, then you would have already completed the base for this stitch as well as the first round. I'm going to be completing this pattern in this video right here, so go ahead and stay tuned. Alright, so we already completed round 1 for this bag, and now we're going to go ahead and do part 2. To do part 2, go ahead and turn your work. Now you see where we have two pieces of yarn here running from where we closed out the round. One is our working yarn and the other is our tail. Now to start the next round, what you will need to do is to take the portion of the yarn that's the tail. So this one here. And if you can see, this is where we would have closed out the round before, which means that it's in the stitch beside that where we're going to start the round. Insert your hook from the back, and we're going to insert it at the top there, but we're also going to insert it at the bottom here as well. So it should go through all three. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to hook it to the tail part of the yarn and we're going to pull it up. And we're going to have one loop on our hook. Now take your working yarn, this piece that's running from the ball of yarn that you would have. And it's the working yarn that we're going to be using going forward. So we already have one loop up, and in the next stitch, so the stitch right beside that, we're going to insert our hook again from the back at the top, but as well as in this stitch here right below. So we're going to go here as well as through here. We're going to hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop. So now we have two loops on our hook. This loop is coming from the tail and this loop is coming from the working yarn. And we're going to hook it to the working yarn and we're going to pull it through both loops. Right? And now we're going to insert our hook in that second loop here. So this one, we're going to insert our hook. And then in the next stitch, and you should always keep the working yarn behind the hook to get the desired look. And in the next stitch, we're going to insert our hook inside the stitch at the top as well as through the bottom here. Hook it to the working yarn and we're going to pull up a loop. So now we have 3 loops on our hook and we're just going to go ahead and complete the stitch. So now we have 3 loops here. 1, 2, 3. And in the third loop, we're going to insert our hook. We're going to insert our hook again into the next stitch. Hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop. And with 3 loops on our hook, we're going to complete the stitch. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing all the way around. So insert it into the third loop there. Insert it into the next stitch. Pull up a loop and complete the stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a few more. And this is pretty much how it looks. So you can already see that herringbone pattern being completed. And you're just going to go ahead and complete that going all the way around. So we're going to go all the way around the bag. And I'm going to see you when we're here. Oh, I forgot to place my marker on this stitch, which would have been the first stitch of the round. So this one. So you remember where the tail is, where we would have inserted the tail before? That's where we're going to go ahead and close out the round when we complete the stitch. So I'll see you when we're back here. Now we've completed round 2 of the bag, and you can see that herringbone stitch going all the way around. And now I'm just going to go ahead and complete the last few stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and skip this stitch, and I want you to also remove your marker. Now insert the hook in that third loop right here, which we've been doing, going all around. And where the marker was, to the top of that stitch right here, I want you to take the tail portion of the yarn, so this part. I want you to insert the hook from the back and pull it through all 3 loops. And we're just going to pull it closer. Now at the top of the next stitch, which is right here, this stitch, we're going to go ahead and insert our hook from the back, hook it to the tail portion of the yarn, and then we're going to pull the tail all the way through. And then in this stitch right here, which would have been the last stitch of the round, we're going to insert our hook from the bottom straight through the middle, hook it to the tail of the yarn, and we're going to pull it all the way through. So it's pretty much what we did in the previous round, just from this side. And to complete the third round, go ahead and turn your work. This is how it looks. Now I want you to take the tail portion of the yarn and not in this stitch where we see the stitch already coming from, but in the stitch beside it, which is this one. So right here, I want you to insert your hook at the top as well as through this stitch right there. So we're going to insert a stitch, and we're going to take the tail portion of the yarn and we're going to pull up a loop. And now you can put the tail to the side, and we're going to go ahead and use the working yarn now. Now be sure to ensure that the working yarn is above the tail, so like this. We're going to insert our hook in the next stitch, hook it to the working yarn, and pull up a loop. And then we're just going to go ahead and complete the stitch there. And in that first stitch, that's where we're going to go ahead and put our marker, and that's where we're going to close out the round. So we're going to do this section like we did our first round. So insert it into the second stitch there and insert it into the next stitch. We're going to pull up a loop, and with 3 loops on our hook, we're going to complete the stitch. So insert it into that 3rd loop here, and inside the next stitch at the top. We're also going to put it through to the stitch here at the back. We're going to hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop, and then complete the stitch. And we're just going to do that going all the way around. Now this is how it looks after completing the 3rd round, and you can already see that beautiful herringbone pattern coming to life. Now I'm just going to complete the last few stitches of the round. And it's this stitch that we're going to go ahead and skip. As you can see here, this stitch is already running from that stitch. So it's not that we skipped it, but this would have been the first stitch that we did the herringbone stitch in. So we're not going to do it there. Instead, what we're going to do is to insert or hook in that 3rd loop here. We're going to remove our marker. And at the top of the stitch, we're gonna go ahead and put aside the working yarn and bring forward the tail. And we're gonna hook the crochet hook to the tail of the yarn. And we're just gonna pull it through all 3 loops. Pull it all the way through. You can bring that closer. And in the stitch beside it, which is here, this stitch, at the top, we're going to insert it from the back, hook it to the tail, and bring it all the way through. Now in the last stitch of the round, which is here, we're going to insert or hook from the bottom all the way through to the middle, hook it to the working yarn, and we're going to pull it all the way through. So to do the next round, go ahead and turn your work, and we're going to work on the other side. So like we did with the 2nd round, we're going to take the tail portion of the yarn, this one, and in the stitch right beside where we were working on, so you can see where the stitches are coming from, this stitch, right? In the stitch beside that, we're going to insert or hook from the back, so at the top here, as well as down here, so through all 3. And then we're going to take the tail portion of the yarn, and we're going to pull up a loop. Now after you've pulled up the loop, you can go ahead and put your tail to one side, ensuring that your working yarn is placed above it, so like this. And then we're going to insert or hook into the next stitch, hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop, and then we're going to complete the stitch. Now that we've completed the stitch, go ahead and place your crochet marker on this stitch right here, and that's where we're going to go ahead and close out the round as we did previously. And then I want you to insert the hook into the second loop there, then insert the hook through the next stitch, hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop. Then we're just going to complete the stitch. Insert the hook into that third portion there of the stitch, a third loop, and then we're going to insert or hook into the next stitch, hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop, and then complete the stitch. And we're just going to do that going all the way around. So same as we would have done in the second round. Now go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'll see you when we're right here. So this is how it looks after completing 4 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the last few stitches. And it's this stitch that we're going to skip, or rather it's this stitch where we would have had our first stitch from before. Remove our marker, insert our hook into that third loop, and at the top of the stitch where the marker was, we're going to go ahead and take the tail of our yarn, and we're going to pull it all the way through all 3 loops. And you can go ahead and move that closer together. And we're going to close out the round as we've done before. Insert it into the top of the next stitch, hook it to the tail and pull it through all the way through. And then through this stitch here, which would have been the last stitch of the round, we're going to insert or crochet hook through the middle, hook it to the working yarn and pull it through. So you can see we're pretty much creating that stitch and pull it through. And this is how it looks. So in the next round, we're going to turn our work and we're going to alternate. We're going to be alternating. So we're going to turn our work and do it on the opposite side. And that's pretty much how we get that herringbone effect. This is the stitch where we would have closed out the round. So in the stitch beside that, we're going to go ahead and insert or hook. And then we're just going to go ahead and grab the tail portion of the yarn, which is this one. We're going to hook it to the tail and we're going to pull up a loop. Now ensuring that our working yarn is above the tail like that, we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. And then we're going to go ahead and complete the stitch. And we're going to place our marker on that stitch here so that we can identify where we should close out the round. And then we're just going to go ahead and complete the herringbone stitch pattern that we've been doing since the beginning. And you can go ahead and complete that going all around. And for the next round, you're going to switch it. So we're going to keep switching, going all the way up. And that's what's giving it this herringbone stitch pattern. So this is how it looks after completing 17 rounds. Now I've gone ahead and closed out the round as I've been doing, going all the way up. However, as you can see here, the tail of the yarn has become fairly short. So I'm going to go ahead and add in another tail to start the round. So go ahead and cut a piece of your yarn to act as your new tail. And then this is where we would have closed out the round. So we're going to start the round here. Now take your new tail, hook it to your crochet hook, and go ahead and pull up a loop. And now take your working yarn, and remember to place the working yarn over the tail, and you can adjust it to your liking. Insert the hook into the next stitch, hook it to the working yarn, and pull up another loop, and then complete the stitch. And then you can go ahead and just use the working yarn like we've been doing previously to complete the stitch for the round, and adjust the tail if needed. And on that stitch where the tail is, that's where we're going to place our marker so that we'll know where to close out the next round. And we can continue the herringbone stitch going all around, right? So now if you notice, we have two short pieces of the tails on the inside, and we can just go ahead and hide this. To do that, use a crochet needle, insert it into the stitches here, and this is so that we can pull it through. And this will help to hold it in place, right? So we can insert the first tail, thread the needle with it. We're just going to pull it going all the way through and adjust it as needed, right? And once you have that in, you can just go ahead and use your scissors to cut off any excess. And you can do the same with the longer one here. And of course, adjust it to your liking. Now continue the stitch going all the way around, and we're gonna do this herringbone stitch pattern for a few more rounds. So this is how the project will look after completing 23 rounds going all the way up. Now I've already gone ahead and placed markers where I plan to put my handles. If you've done your pattern using the exact same format as me, then you should have 77 stitches going all around. So skipping this here, you should have 12 stitches on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And then in the middle here, we're gonna skip 14, including this and this stitch. We should have 24 in total, 14 in the middle, and that should leave 12 on this side. So we're just gonna go ahead and do the pattern as we normally would. So I'm gonna start out the round as normal. And I really only use this marker to pinpoint where to put the other markers for my handle. So after you've done that, you can go ahead and remove it. And start the round. And you can just go ahead and place your marker on the first stitch of the round here. And continue going all around. Now once you're at your first marker, go ahead and complete a herringbone stitch. And then we're just going to go ahead and do 26 chain stitches. And after you've gone ahead and completed 26 chain stitches, we're just going to go ahead and connect it here. So insert or hook, and hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop. And then we're just going to go ahead and complete the stitch, pulling it through both loops. Now you can go ahead and remove your marker and continue with the herringbone pattern. And we're just going to do that until we're at this marker here. And once we're at the marker here, we're going to go ahead and do a herringbone stitch. And once you've done that, you can just go ahead and remove the marker. And then we're going to go ahead and make 26 chain stitches like we did on this side. And once you've done the 26 chain stitches, you can go ahead and connect it like we did previously. So insert or hook, hook it to the working yarn and pull up a loop, and then pull the yarn through both loops. Now remove your marker, and we're going to go ahead and continue the herringbone stitch pattern and then close out the round. Now once you've gone ahead and closed out the round, go ahead and start the next round as you normally would. Now once you're at the handle, just go ahead and continue the herringbone stitch in each stitch going across. And we're just going to go ahead and continue doing the stitch going all the way around. Now for the final round, we're just going to go ahead and continue the pattern on the next side. So you can go ahead and turn your work and do the other side of the pattern going all around. And we're just going to complete this going all around both handles towards the end of the bag. And if you haven't done so, you can place a marker on the first stitch so that you know where it ends. So this is how it looks. And we're just going to continue that going all the way around until we're here at the end. And we're just going to go ahead and close out the round. Now we're just going to go ahead and hide this piece of the tail. So use your needle, insert the tail, and we're just going to hide it through the stitches going down. Now to finish, we're just going to go ahead and do slip stitches going all the way across. So take the yarn that's there, your working yarn, And from the top of the stitch, pull through a loop, and in the stitch beside it, pull through another loop and pull that loop through the loop already on the hook. Pull up a loop, pull it through the loop already on the hook. And we're just going to go ahead and do these slip stitches going all the way around, and this helps to give it a nice finish. It's not needed, but I find that it helps to give a nice finish. Now in that last stitch, go ahead and cut your yarn. And pull it all the way through. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know if you have any questions at all in the comments, and I will get right back to you. Bye!